So in this video we'll be explaining Linux. So this is Linux explained for beginners. So let's talk about Linux from the beginning. So Linux, first we are going to talk about what exactly is Linux. So first let's what is Linux? So Linux is an operating system just like Windows, Mac and the rest, but something different about Linux is that it is open source in the sense that it the software that make up Linux is available for anyone to inspect, modify and enhance. Important, it's available for anyone to enhance it, modify it. That's why you have a lot of versions and distributions of Linux operating system. So it's an operating system, but it is open source. All right, and then Linux, everything in Linux is considered as a file. Just like you have your text file and the rest, everything in Linux is considered as a file, including the hardwares, that is mouse, keyboard, hard disk. They have their own file that you can modify in Linux. Also, Linux usually consists of small single programs that make up a larger program. That is, you don't see just one program that is like 7 gig in Windows. In Linux, is going to have, you see, a main program that has a lot of dependencies. So these dependencies are just small programs attached to the main programs to make up a very big program. And then that is, you should know that it has the ability to chain these small programs together to form a bigger one. All right, and then Linux avoids graphics user interface at all cost. So in some recent distributions, Linux distributions, you will see they are trying to bring in the Windows or Mac and GUI, but from onset Linux avoids GUI. So if you are not going to see a lot of GUI in Linux, and then the configuration data are stored in the file as well, which makes it very easy to make changes to the settings and things like that. So now let's talk about the Linux architecture. So we've talked about Linux. So now Linux architecture. So Linux architecture is basically what Linux is made up of. So Linux is made up of the kernel, importantly, and then we have the shell. These two are very important. So shell is what you can see now. It's what you are seeing. What I'm typing out, I'm typing it in the shell, just the terminal. So we have the shell. So this is where we type the commands that I give the Linux. And Linux itself is we have kernel, like I said. This is like the main engine of Linux. This is the main brain of Linux, and this is what converts whatever we type into the shell for the hardware to understand. So this serves as the intermediary between the shell and the hardware. That's the purpose of the kernel. And then in the shell we can type a lot of stuff and for the Linux to understand. So that's basically the Linux architecture. So you might be thinking again, why should we use Linux? Why do you want to learn Linux? Why do you want to use Linux in your environment? First, like I said in the beginning, Linux is open source. It means you are not paying for anything except what you really want to pay for. Like, in fact, 90% since I've been using Linux, I have not paid for anything. Though there are some distros that are paid just like Windows and they are still Linux, but they are not common. They are only used in production environments. So Linux is open source, that is free, and it has a lot of community support. A lot of people are behind it. Another reason why a lot of people use Linux is because of security. Linux is secure, maybe more secure compared to other operating systems, and it makes automation easier. So that's another reason why a lot of people use Linux. So there are basically the most popular Linux is Ubuntu, which is the one I'm using presently, Ubuntu, and we have another one called Red Hat Linux, which I have CentOS and other RPM based Linux. So those are the two most popular Linux types. So alright, that is Linux explained in a nutshell.